What's up, BookTube? Sandy Golston back here with another video, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the most recent book that I read as I closed out the month of May on my TBR, and that is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the latest in the Hunger Games series, and it's actually a prequel to the original trilogy in the Hunger Games. And for those of you who know me pretty well, you know that I really wasn't... The Hunger Games really wasn't kind of my cup of tea in terms of what I would normally read, but I did decide to take it on, mainly because I saw the a preview of the movie. I saw the trailer to the movie, the original Hunger Games movie, and I thought, you know what? I think I want to read the book first. And I actually had a copy of the first Hunger Games book. And so I said, you know what, before I even take a stab at watching that movie, I'm going to make sure that I read the book first. And so I read the original Hunger Games book, and then after I read that, I had to go, of course, and read Catching Fire, and after I read that, I read Mockingjay. So really loved the original Hunger Games, and then Catching Fire was very good as well. Really got into that one and enjoyed that one as well. Not quite as much as the original Hunger Games, but I did enjoy that one. And Mockingjay, I kind of worked my way through that. That one was a little bit of a tougher read for me, but I did want to finish the series because I was curious how it was going to end up. And so after that, of course, I then went on to binge watch the movies, and I enjoyed the movies as well. So that leads up to, again, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is really exciting. And I actually plowed through this book relatively fast by my standards. It's 500 plus pages, so you can see a very thick book here. One of the things about this book and the purpose of this video is I wanted to really talk about where the Hunger Games maybe goes from here, because I think there's some directions that I think it could go. Now, some people were a little bit disappointed when they found out that The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes was going to feature President Snow. I think people just weren't really feeling that when that was first announced, that was made public. And so I think after that, people were just kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm feeling wanting to know the backstory of the villain of a story. And I think people maybe we're a little bit uneasy to just dive headfirst into this latest installment of the Hunger Games series. And I guess to some extent, understandably so. Now, for me personally, I was actually excited to learn a little bit more about President Snow's backstory. It wasn't the first thing that I would have chosen. I probably would have gone more with like Haymitch, because I think his story, was really interesting and compelling. And as I watched the Hunger Games series, the original trilogies, the movie, and of course the books, I was really more interested in what he was doing in terms of thinking about future stories that could be told from the Hunger Games original trilogy. So I think some people were maybe hoping that that's where the prequel would go, but of course it did not go in that direction. So that leads me to where the series could go from here, where Hunger Games could go from here. And of course, Haymitch, I already talked about that. Be very interesting to learn more about his backstory. But and this is gonna border a little bit on spoiler. So, but there's a character in this book, Lucy Gray, who ends up being a very interesting character, and you just want to. I was really intrigued by Lucy Gray's character in this, and I think I would really be interested in learning more about Lucy Gray's character in the future. And so when you think of directions that the series could go from here, Haymitch is certainly one direction it could go, but Lucy Gray is another direction that it could go as well, because her character really just grabbed and intrigued me. And so I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. I mean, you just know that Suzanne Collins is playing chess while we may think she's playing checkers. And so things that happen in this book are probably setting the stage for future books, or at least the possibility of future stories that could be told in the Hunger Games series. And so I'm excited to see if it could go in that direction. I think the way that the book plays out, you start to want to know more. At least I wanted to know more about Lucy Gray's character. And so that was one of the intriguing things for me. So I think there's certainly life after the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and I think more than likely we'll be seeing more in the Hunger Games series. I certainly hope so, because again, it's not typically the kind of books that I would normally read, but I really was just compelled by the original Hunger Games story, and then really following through with the next 3 books in the series, including, of course, the latest in this series. So I think there are many different ways that they could go. Maybe not many, but there's a few really intriguing ways that they could go with the Hunger Games series. And so I'm really excited about the future installments of the Hunger Games series, and I'm sure you are too. Let me know what you think about where the series could go from here. I think there's some really intriguing possibilities, and I know people who are really fierce fans of the Hunger Games series are going to be excited to see where we go from here. So if you're excited about this video, hopefully at least a little bit excited, then you'll consider hitting the like button for this video. And if you're interested in BookTube content, AuthorTube content, just in general chatting about books, then please consider hitting the subscribe button and join me for future videos on this channel.